Hello everyone, welcome to Season 4, Round 8 of my F1 2012 career mode. I am Novsbuds, and today we're in Valencia, in Spain, for the European Grand Prix. And my objective today is to finish first, and my qualifying objective was to finish, qualify in 4th. See what we can do. I had a bit of a difficult time in practice setting up the car, ended up 2nd fastest, which is okay. I suppose it's not actually too bad. The track will improve as the weekend goes on, and you get a bit more and more confident going into some corners. But I never really got the car set up exactly how I wanted it. I don't think. I could never find that sweet spot, so I ended up just sliding out of some corners, not having grip, and then not having enough speed once I sorted out the grip issue. So I sort of found a decent enough middle ground. And now I'm pretty fast. I managed to make it through to Q3 quite easily. Now let's just see whether I can get the pole or as close to 4th position as possible. We will see. Got no times to compare to yet, as obviously, because I'm the first one out pretty much. I did do another lap after this, which actually came in with around about, I don't know, a few hundredths of a second. So I managed to do 2 laps within a few hundredths of the hundredth. Oh my god, I can't say that word. Hundredths of a second of each other. But my second lap was just a tiny bit slow because I made a bit of a mistake. So just coming around to the final turn now. You usually get that wrong, so I was quite happy to get that spot on. So racing for the line, it's going to be a 1:39.111, which is not probably good enough for pole at all, really. I mean, look at the times. I would have only been a 10th off if Nico Rosberg had gotten pole, because Romain Grosjean's time of 1:38.3, that just blew everyone out of the water. 6/10 faster than Rosberg. So they are forced to be reckoned with today, I think. 4th on the grid, at least I've met my objective, and let's see what I can do in the actual race. Got Alonso on my right there, I nearly clatter into. Just gave him just that amazing move there. Just gave him enough room, as I was going to say. Managed to find the room to brake at the right time and made it through to take the lead. Interestingly enough. Now this is an interesting position. I wouldn't say I'm the fastest around here. I do actually improve my pace in the later stage of the race. But from the description you'll see that this race doesn't exactly go to plan. So I've got the lead now. Let's see if I can actually hold on to it. Maybe build up a gap, but it's unlikely. I mean, especially with Grosjean and Rosberg behind me, the two of the quite frankly fastest cars this season. And then you got me in front of them, so I'll probably be holding them up for a little while now. So we can get to the sector line. See if I'm building any sort of a gap here. 7/10. It's not bad, but ideally, obviously, I'd want to be a second or more in front. Just coming through the final sector now to complete the first lap of 14. And I'm pretty slow around that last corner actually. I do brake earlier than I should, mainly because I don't have confidence in the car to not lock up. Yeah. I have pretty much set my brake balance to be as rear as possible without affecting the performance too much. But I still do manage to lock up most of the time. Someone had a bit of a drama there in the sector 3. Someone's retired at the end of the first lap, so I wonder who that is. Just saw his dot disappearing there on the map. Grosjean is right behind me, so is Rosberg. Definitely not building up a gap here, so I may be in a bit of trouble here. Wouldn't surprise me if Grosjean or Rosberg decided to make a move anytime soon. the main person I'm looking out for today in this race is Rosberg. He's the one that's behind me in the constructors in the drivers' championship. So ideally, over the next few races, I want to be ahead of him, and definitely ahead of Lotus's as well. Not to mention Alonso, who is still a threat, even if his car is slightly off the pace this season. Just ever so slightly, not much though. It seems to be the Lotuses and the Mercedes this season. Jensen not really performing as well as I'd hoped. I'd hoped he'd be like in the top 5 at least this season, but obviously not. And there we go, DRS enabled. Just about got the gap up to 1.6. So I'm maybe okay, but knowing my driving, as you can see, I didn't really have much grip going around that corner there. I was sliding out a little bit. That would have cost me a few tenths at the very least. So you see Raikkonen's fastest lap 142. 1.6 seconds than my fastest lap so far, which gives you some sort of idea about my pace, especially at this opening stage of the race. But it doesn't seem to have mattered, as Peak has somehow managed to get into 3rd. I have to say, this was one of those what the fuck races. Weird things were happening. And I don't know how Marussia managed to get up to 3rd position. It's not the first time it's happened in my F1 videos. I think it was in 2011 that one of the Virgins, as they were called back then, actually managed to get into 4th position or something in the Hungarian Grand Prix. So I'm like, what the fuck? Especially as the Marussias haven't exactly been proper front-running teams this season. For a Pick to suddenly come out of nowhere and be in 3rd, it's just like, what the hell's going on today? Little did I know it was the start of a very weird race. Grosjean's dropped out somewhere. I think he's still in the race. Actually, I know he's still in the race. Just managed to get overtaken in the DRS zone, I guess. Oh, actually, yes, I know what happened to Grosjean. He actually spun out of the last corner a couple of laps ago, or last lap. That's why Peak has taken that place, and De Rest has managed to get up into 4th as well. So there's going to be a lot of unusual names in the top 10 today. Well, I say a lot, but it's like 2, 3, 4 maybe that I wouldn't have expected to be up there. But it's good for me. It's good for me because you know, the further back my rivals are for the championship, the more advantage it is to me. Another car dropped out there. 22 cars left. I wonder who that was. Actually, I think I do know. It's Rosberg. Flies past me with that DRS.
Okay, we lost that position. Put some pressure on him and try to get it back.
Gonna give him a bit of a fight though. Touching wheels around these corners. Got the inside line here, so I should be okay to take it. Whoa! Just hold the slide though. Definitely didn't give that up easily. Rosberg needs to come back at me again, which I'm sure he will next time round when he gets the DRS. All there. I'll go wide at the hairpin. That's a bit irritating, because if only I'd braked light earlier, got in his way rather than tried to take that corner at a higher speed, I would have held on to that position. It's irritating to lose a position in that way, especially with how I fought to get that back. Unfortunately, he might be a bit too far away. Yeah, he's already got the 2nd gap, so I'm not going to get DRS unless I can close it somehow. And I'm in a very odd situation of being under threat from Marussia here. It's very weird to say it, but I am. My rhythm around this track does get interrupted quite a lot today. Because if I mess up in some of the corners, if I feel that the grip wasn't there, if I start sliding out of a corner for some reason, it does interrupt my flow for the next couple of corners, which is why I end up losing a lot of time sometimes while trying to catch up to the guys in front. Again, it's one of these things I need to work on my consistency. And there you go, there's Marussia trying to get past there. I don't think he's quite going to do it though. Got the outside line here, but the inside here. So, he easily stayed in front there. If that was a higher end car like a Lotus, I think he probably would have managed to stay in front on the inside line. Yeah, Rosberg is getting away. I think I might need to write off that battle. Maybe settle for a podium finish today. Unless something miraculous happens in the pits, which it doesn't. I can tell you that now. But wait till you see what actually does happen in the pits. So, second, Peak third, the rest of fourth. My rear tyres are going off quite a bit actually. They're not surviving too well.
We think the car behind is running on full revs. He's trying to close the gap.
It's also probably to do with the fact that I'm probably locking up my rear tyres quite a lot as well, and sliding out like that, which is irritating as the Marussia comes past again. Should be able to make it in on the inside at some point. Yeah, here we go. Inadvertently cutting the corner. But for some reason, when you go up the inside of some cars, sometimes they do back off so quickly, which is unfortunate. Apparently the AI has been improved for 2013, so it should be interesting to see that when it comes out. But I did manage to nick DRS off Charles Peak, which I did in Canada last time out from Rosberg. Another little cheeky manoeuvre, but it works for me. That gives me a bit of a gap again. Hopefully he won't be overtaking me on DRS again anytime soon. Yeah, it's just almost a second off. So basically what's going to happen now is I'm going to come into the pits for a nose change as well as a tyre change, which is going to slow me down a bit, unfortunately. Should have backed off quicker when I saw I was going into the wall. Let's fly into the pits now, and you can see the travesty that's about to take place as the pit lane appear from nowhere. Pit crew. So here we go. Normal stop. Yeah, that's fine. 5 seconds would be acceptable. But this happens. I'd rather have an unsafe release than this bollocks. So, yep. Just waiting here. 13.8 seconds. What a load of arse. Arse, tits and balls. That's what it is. In a bucket covered in arse sauce. I don't know, I'm just saying words. So yes, that's ruined my day.
You have no more scheduled pit stops, so look after your tyres.
And clearly, I'm actually going to end up way behind that Marussia now, which is very embarrassing. Now I'm going to have to play catch up pretty quickly. Especially, I do actually have some pace now, strangely enough. And this is one of those tracks where the prime tyres are so much better for me than the options were. But now I just need to catch up to Resta. Hopefully I can catch up to the guy in front of him as well. Glock is behind me, of all people. But at least I got DRS on Resta, so I should be able to close up nicely and maybe make a move into the next few corners. Coming out of here is a good opportunity. They're slower than I would expect, so it gives me a chance to get into their slipstream and make a move on the fellow Brit. Right, next up, Raikkonen. Somehow catch up to him. I expect a few of the people in front will peel off into the pits anyway, so I should make up 1 or 2 positions. But unfortunately, because that pit stop was so long, the people who are in the pits right now are going to get out in front of me, which which is very irritating to say the least. I was cursing quite a bit, considering I was on for a podium finish today. But being me, I don't give up. And Hulkenberg managed to get in my way there. So unfortunately I'm going to have to overtake him. I don't care about your conservation mode bollocks. Slightly irritating that Hulkenberg got out in front of me, but as I proved with Di Resta, I should be able to catch up to this Force India sometime soon. Maybe even now, if I can get to DRS, possibly. No, not going to happen yet. But usually coming out of that corner, they are so quick down this straight. I swear they must be using all of their curves on this one point on the track, because they fly out of that like that tight corner after the bridge. But they are quite slow around that corner, which is interesting. Definitely a lot easier to catch them up on this bent straight. Well, I know I have to pass him, it's a race. It's basically a sprint race, it's not an endurance race like 60 odd laps. Pit stop phase is pretty much over now, so this is where I am, in 9th place. It's all up to me now to claw back what I lost in the pit stop phase. So I'm in 9th. Barton is actually ahead of me. Has to do a bit of corner cutting. Can't believe it, Button's actually ahead of me. That's how bad the pit stop was. But it looks like the Marussia that is up front of Peak is actually getting in everyone's way. And the Sauber's up there as well. I know Perez is up there somewhere. But to be honest, looking at the map, it sort of looks like Jensen's kind of holding up this little group, which doesn't surprise me all that much. Be great if it was a fantastic ploy to get me up front again. That'd be amazing. But the game's not quite that smart yet. So I've got a little bit of clean air, so it should give me a bit of an advantage, especially as them lot in front are fighting amongst themselves. Should be able to catch up pretty nicely as long as I don't fluff it up. Gives me a little bit of opportunity to talk about any sort of news that's going on at the moment. Only 2 bits of news really, as far as I can see. I'm sure there's a bit more in the gossip column, but can't be asked with that today. Basically, so yeah, the revelation from the German Grand Prix about the cameraman who was hit with Mark Webber's tyre is that cameramen are now to be confined to the pit wall during races. So no more close-up shots of the cars in the pits unless they zoom in really closely, which is unfortunate, but you know, they have to do something about the safety of guys who are not wearing protective gear. So yeah, now they're confined to the pit wall, which I suppose is alright. I don't really have a particular problem with that. Especially with how dangerous an environment the pit lane is. It's a good call. It's only a matter of time before someone actually did get hurt other than the mechanics. And also the driver transfers and rumours and all that are starting to take off quite a bit now. Now that news has been released recently of Lotus moving to convince driver Kimi Raikkonen not to join Red Bull. So Lotus very, very keen to hold on to Kimi. Why wouldn't they be? Especially with the team moving on up recently. Oh, very big slide coming out of there. That would have cost me a bit of time. So yes, basically Lotus want to match pretty much anything that Red Bull can offer them, apart from an Adrian Newey designed car, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, Kimi does seem happy at Lotus, though. They will be trying everything in their power to keep him. But he's still got to consider the fact that the Red Bull might just be a flat-out faster car. But if the German Grand Prix is anything to be going by, Lotus can hold its own. That's another irritating bit there, going wide in the corner. I lost all that time I made again. Still, three laps to go after this one. So, it's still possible, considering how slow those guys are in front. Rosberg is getting away with it quite easily. I think he's got quite a substantial gap now. Yeah, I'm not going to be caught by Di Resta. That's a silly engineer. So yeah, basically, Lotus are in discussions with Kimi at the moment about the technical package that they'll have for next year, and it depends if Kimi's confident enough that Lotus will be making strides in improvements to be at the top again. I mean, Lotus is more or less capable of winning a race, as he proved at the start of the season, mainly because it's so easy on its tyres. But Red Bull definitely the more consistent car across the whole season than Lotus at the moment. But it remains to see what Kimi decides, of course. So he's basically got the offer of 2 teams, pretty much. So his Formula 1 career is very secure at the moment, which is good to see. Do love Kimi. He's oh, hello. Buttons off.
Jensen's brakes have failed. He's out of the race.
Yep, Jensen suffers a brake failure, which is irritating because now he loses those points. But it does move me up to 8th, so more points for myself. So, yeah. Basically, rounding up, Eric Billier says Raikkonen is mature enough to decide for himself what is the right thing to do. There are some upsides to going to Red Bull, and there are some downsides as well, as there are with moving teams generally, and the sort of work ethic that Red Bull have. I think they would expect Kimi to be a bit more technical than people find him at Lotus. And Raikkonen does have to be completely happy with the steering of the car, for example. Otherwise he won't be performing to his best. Something that Lotus have been quite good with, actually. He does seem to be quite comfortable with that car. Did manage to drive the wheels off it on Sunday last. Almost catching up to Vettel. It's do wonder what the actual pace would have been if Vettel didn't have those KERS failures. But the Lotus is still a competitive car. So I'm definitely going to follow that. But also the future is still uncertain on Grosjean, because you never know, he might end up being debooted for next year. But he does provide about £5 million worth of sponsorship from the oil giant Total. So you never know. Never know. You know, you could find people like Hulkenberg, even Kobayashi to be in the running for a Lotus seat, but I doubt Kobayashi would be in the running. I think it would be more like Hulkenberg. If Grosjean was to go, for example. Maldonado has also been linked with Lotus, but Williams sources there is no way out of his contract, which is till the end of 2015. And why would Williams want to let go of Maldonado, considering he brings about £30 million a year to the team through the oil giant PDVSA? So he's not going anywhere just yet. But yeah, we'll see what happens as the months go by. I'm sure we'll have more rumours and speculation as we get closer to the next couple of Grand Prix. So there you go, I did manage to take Schumacher there, up behind Raikkonen, as we were just talking about him. Should be able to actually even get past him here. It's surprising to see the Lotuses down this far in 5th and 6th, because that is Grosjean just ahead of Raikkonen there. And in front of Grosjean is Perez, and I think the Marussia or Peak is in 3rd or 2nd, so I don't know who else is up the top there. Oh, it's Senna. It's the Williams of Senna. So basically you've got Peak, you've got Senna, you've got Perez in front of the two Lotuses there, which is slowing them down. And they can't find a way past for some reason. It's the last lap. Still got time to make up a couple of places. I'm really quite close to them. I can just not slide out these damn corners. But you can see how much they're being held up. You've actually got Senna in front of Peak there. So go around the outside of Kimi on that corner. Seems to have worked pretty well. Let's see if I can make up another place before we get to the start-finish line. It's my last chance, so I've got to do something here. I'm going to dive up the inside of this hairpin. Quite surprised I didn't lock up and crash into Grosjean, so that works out really well. Is there time to take Perez on the final corner? Podium just out of reach as Nico Rosberg has won the race with the fastest lap of 1:41.5, and no, not going to take Perez. Sort of fluffed that up a little bit too much. But fifth, thanks to my pit lane dramas. It's Jensen, there you go, confirming finishing 22nd, basically retiring from the race due to a brake failure. But 5th is reasonable considering how much I actually got held up, and it was encouraging to see the pace I had at the end, where if I had a couple more laps maybe I probably could have got back up to 2nd place. But there you go, 10 points to Nico's 25, so he'll be closing the gap considerably in the championship. Luckily I do have a race in hand in terms of points, so it's not all bad. It's just a bit of an irritating day and a bit of a weird race. You can see Button, Alonso, Vettel all retired there. Some unfamiliar names in the top 10. There's some usual ones there, but not all the same. I mean, Senna, Peak, Perez, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. That's very weird. And they qualified well as well, so I don't know. What's going on there. But I am still leading the championship. As the guy said, 13 points ahead of Nico Rosberg. He is becoming a little bit of a threat now. Grosjean and Alonso a bit far behind at this point in time to make very much of an impact on my lead. And Jensen there in 6th with 16 points, and Charles Peak rocketing up to 14th place with 15 points for that podium finish. Oh dear, it's a very strange race it was. At least it was sunny, that's the main thing. And for the next race it's actually forecast to be sunny again. So on a fantastic streak of not being in wet races so far. So, but there you go, Mercedes still leading the way, Lotus following, and McLaren still in 3rd. 34 points behind though, so it's starting to maybe get away from us ever so slightly. Still certainly possible, but I'm not holding my breath. So anyway, join me next time for round 9, Great Britain, my home race. Feeling good about this one. I'll see you later, guys.